Welcome to All Things Cardio-Oncology. My name is Steve Casselli. I'm the Executive Director of ICOS. And in this podcast, you'll hear from a diverse representation from our community. We want you to be both informed and inspired by their stories and experiences, and we're so glad that you've joined us today. Well, it's a pleasure today to be with my friends and colleagues, Dr. Susan Dent and Dr. Teresa Lopez-Fernandez. I have the pleasure of working closely with each of them throughout the year. Dr. Dent, Susan, is the president of ICOS, and Teresa is our vice president. And although I think we are certainly biased because we spend so much time with ICOS, I think we would all say we're really thrilled with the developments of our community this year. And so we just wanted to spend some time talking about some of the highlights from 2023. And I think as I think back on this year, I think in a word, if I had to summarize 2023, I would say traction. I feel like we're really getting traction as an organization as we've grown and developed. I've been a part of ICOS now for 4 years, and I think it's been obvious that we've really matured and grown organizationally. And now I think we're really digging in and making some significant progress, developing our community. So welcome, Susan and Teresa, and I'll maybe toss it over to Susan to start with. Do you have any thoughts on kind of some highlights from this year that come to your mind?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. This has been a tremendous year for ICOS. If I were to sum it up in one word, I would say growth. I mean, we've really seen growth along with the traction in 2023. And in fact, we now have 28 chapters around the world. And I think that's really a testament to the areas of interest from our colleagues, to what we have done as a group and our commitment to this organization. And I'd also like to highlight that in 2023, we actually welcomed 4 chapters: Cuba, Hungary, Korea, and Japan. And as you can see, these chapters are from around the world, really a testament to the growth of our organization. It's also, I think, important to realize how our membership has expanded. So we now have approximately 1,100 members, which is really remarkable, from 40 different countries. And we are continuing to see the commitment from oncology. I think one thing we realize is that when we look at the membership in our organization, it's been very heavily weighted towards cardiologists, but we are gradually seeing an increase in the percentage of membership from oncologists. So last year that grew from about 8% to 11%. And then the other thing I really think I would like to highlight is the importance of those people who commit or volunteer their time to support this organization. So I know, Steve, you and I were looking at this the other day, and we have a number of committees, we have a number of working groups, but when you put all of that together, we have close to 200 members who volunteer their time to moving forward the goals and objectives of this organization. And I think that's truly remarkable.
Yeah, it is. The growth of the membership is really significant. And I think the relationships that we all have with each other as we work together are really special. And I always think it's important to remember too, how if you just imagine all 1,100 members are in clinics around the world serving patients, it's really staggering to think of the number of people whose lives are actually being touched through the work of the organization. So it's really thrilling. Teresa, anything top of mind for you that you would want to jump in and report on?
Thank you, Steve. I fully agree with your last comment that most of our members are already working in clinic. So at the same time are trying to promote, to advocate on cardio-oncology, but have a direct relationship with patients. So we are trying to really bring to life this new subspecialty, this cardio-oncology. And I think that ICOS is a really important platform to support all these physicians, nurses, all the stakeholders that really work hard every day with these patients.
Yeah, you mentioned the word stakeholders, and I think we would all agree that one of the exciting things we had held this year was what we called our first stakeholder summit. And the thought behind that was just recognizing that cardio-oncology is growing across the globe, and there are a number of medical societies and organizations that are engaging in the field. And we really wanted to find a way to bring us all together so that the synergy of working together could really create something more significant. So Susan, you want to tell us a little bit about that stakeholder summit?
Yeah, that was really exciting, Steve. So on September 11th of this year, we had a stakeholder summit via Zoom. And remarkably, we had 40 participants from 14 different organizations that represent both oncology and cardiology organizations. And that is truly remarkable when you think of all the organizations out there and the fact that they would be willing to come together and join us, really to look at how can we come together as a global community to advance cardio-oncology care. So I was really struck by the enthusiasm from that group and by the willingness of them to come and meet with us in a common forum. And so coming out of that first stakeholder summit, we have agreed, we asked people what were their areas they thought were of the greatest need in cardio-oncology. And now we're working on that in terms of creating a sort of a white paper to really focus on the unmet needs. And importantly, not just do it for ICOS, but to do it for all of these organizations and ultimately globally and for the patient, right? We recognize there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this area. Why not do it together as a global community rather than trying to do it as individual organizations? So I think that was really the highlight of that first meeting. So I'm really excited as we go into 2024 that we're going to have some very productive and ultimately great outcomes that will impact patient care.
Yeah, we kind of had this crazy idea as a board to try this, and we weren't sure, what the appetite would be for a meeting like this. And I think we were all pleasantly surprised by the enthusiasm of very large organizations globally who were eager to jump in and get involved. And I think related to that in terms of sort of, global impact and influence and interest, we had our annual meeting this year in Madrid, Spain, Teresa's hometown, and Teresa was at the heart of organizing that meeting. And it was really a phenomenal international meeting. So Teresa, can you tell us a little bit about the Global Cardio-Oncology Summit of 2023?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. In fact, yes, we hosted the GCOS meeting in Madrid last September, and we were able to bring together more than 600 participants for 40 different countries around the world. And it was a very, very exciting meeting. First, it reinforced the idea of how important is cardio-oncology nowadays in cardiovascular medicine, but also for oncologists and hematologists. And we focus on the first day of the meeting on basic and translational research in cardio-oncology, which is key because we really needed to increase our knowledge on the mechanism that contribute to cardiovascular toxicity in order to design personalized and more precise preventive strategies for our patients. And regarding the way to create this new subspecialty with the different big societies, during the GCOS meeting, we organized several joint sessions with the American Society of Oncology, ASCO. We also bring together JACC Cardio-Oncology, the European Heart Journal, ACNAP, which is the European Association for Nurses and other professionals involved in the cardiovascular care of patients with cancer. And I think that bringing all these societies together, and of course, all the Spanish societies involved in cardiology and in oncology, we were able to really represent what are the needs of the community. And we also present all the innovations in cardiovascular and oncology treatment during this 3 days session.
Yeah, it was a fantastic meeting, and not the least of which was the location. Just being able to be in Spain together with our friends was really fantastic. I think post-COVID, we all love being together individually and personally. And I think one of the features of that meeting that was a lot of fun was our first Champions League. Tell us what that was and how that all came about.
Well, that was really fun. We organized an online clinical case quiz during the year before GCOS, and we get more than 50 teams or mini cardio-oncology teams around the world that compete online to go to the final in Madrid. So finally, we get 3 teams, 2 from Spain and 1 from Brazil. And they compete during a session for the first prize, and it was ICOS Brazil chapter, the one who win the first ICOS Champion League. But I think that the session was really interesting. It was really fun, but also very educational for young people, because one of the rules is that people that compete in this Champions League were young people. So those who are starting to work in cardio-oncology to increase their knowledge, but also to help them to work in a community, in a multidisciplinary team, not by their own.
Yeah, it was great. And Brazil obviously came in very confident because they actually had T-shirts that they had made. So they were
definitely
they were very confident about their
they make it. Yeah.
Yeah, they won. So they did great.
Yeah, in fact, we also, it was also very interesting, not only the Champions League, but the research symposium and the nurse symposium that was very well attended, because we really need to support all the different professionals that help in multidisciplinary team. It's not just about doctors. And I think that this is also one of the beauties of ICOS, that we have members from different communities, and we are able to work all together in different research project or advocacy project or educational project.
If you or your institution would like to have credentials that confirm your qualifications as a cardio-oncologist or a cardio-oncology center of excellence, we encourage you to consider applying for our certification exam in cardio-oncology or our certification for centers of excellence. These are the only certifications currently available in this field, and it's a special opportunity for you or your institution to distinguish yourself, recognizing your expertise in the field. More information about both these opportunities can be found at ic-os.org, or you can email directoricos@gmail.com for more information. And Susan, maybe tell us a little bit about the future for the GCOS meeting. I know as a board, we've already been thinking ahead, both obviously to 2024, but even to 2025. So what can people look forward to?
Oh, Stephen, Minneapolis, right? In 2024, it's going to come back to the US, and Dr. Ann Blaze is co-hosting that meeting. So we're really looking forward to coming back to the North American soil. But beyond that, we just have determined, the board just determined that in 2025, the meeting would be going to South Africa. So we're really looking forward to going to a part of the world where GCOS has never been. And importantly, I think it gives us the opportunity to engage individuals from a different part of the globe. And speaking to that, I mean, I think that what was also exciting about this year is that we were part of a meeting that was held in Ghana. And Ghana is looking now at starting their own chapter as well. So while cardio-oncology has really become established in a number of higher income countries, I think now as an organization, we really do have to look at the lower and middle income countries to see if we can bring cardio-oncology care to those parts of the world, right? I think that's always a sort of a challenge as to, given the limited resources some of these countries have, what can we do to improve the care for patients in those countries? So I think that's really exciting. GCOS continues to be, an amazing event. It brings all of us together. We have a great time. We learn from each other, but it sparks ideas, it sparks interest, and it brings people into a common space where we can determine where we need to go in the future. So there's lots of exciting things happening. Moving beyond 2023, I think this has been an amazing year, but I really look forward to a great 2024 and 2025 and beyond. I think we're just at the point where we are going to make tremendous impact on patient care based on all the hard work that everyone has been doing at ICOS.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward both to this year and the future. Our friends in South Africa, we have a chapter in South Africa, and they've hosted a couple cardio-oncology meetings for the last 2 or 3 years, and the field has really gotten some traction there as well. And obviously, the GCOS meeting is a centerpiece, a highlight for us every year, but throughout the year, there are a number of other educational opportunities and events that we're engaged in. Any others come to mind that you'd want to mention?
I think one of our goals over the coming years is to collaborate with more of the organizations that are out there. So you had mentioned earlier ASCO, the American Society of Clinical Oncology is obviously a very important organization to collaborate with. ESMO, the European Society of Medical Oncology. Maybe I'm just being biased here as I'm an oncologist, but it's really about engaging and more oncologists and anyone really that's interested. But that's sort of one of my highlights, or one of my goals over the next year, is to try and engage that group more. We've also, done some collaboration with MASC, which is a multi, it's an organization really looking at symptom management in cancer patients. So those have gone well. We've done some combined webinars with them. And I think overall, these collaborations have been going quite well. I think what's always a nice outcome from some of these collaborations is that it sparks new ideas and new partnerships and new collaborations. So I think that's also a very exciting essentially achievement from 2023, is that we have done more collaborative webinars, and we are always looking to even do more collaborations. So the other one, Steve, is the SCMR, right? The Society of CMR. We're also looking at how we can collaborate with them in the future. And when their meeting comes back to the US in 2025, we're looking at doing some, I think, joint sessions with them.
Yeah, I think
happening.
There's a lot going on, and those joint sessions are always really significant because, again, the idea of synergy with other organizations and trying to work together rather than overlapping in our efforts. Teresa, any other highlights from the year that come to mind for you? It could be research.
Focusing on SCMR, just to close this topic. In fact, in January next year, in London, we have a joint session, ICOS and SCMR, during the big SCMR meeting that this year is hosted in London. And regarding other important topic this year, we know that all of you are aware about the publication of the ESC and ICOS guidelines at the end of 2022. So during 2023, we really have had the opportunity to mature this document, to promote this document, and to understand what are the key messages that we really need to present to the different professionals in order to implement these guidelines in clinical practice. And of course, we need more research to increase the level of evidence of most of the recommendation, let's see. But now we have a starting point. We have a plan. So if we work to improve the level of evidence of the most important recommendation of the ESC and ICOS guideline, I think that we really have a good plan for research in the next years, and the research committee and the scientific committee that we have at ICOS can really support all these initiatives. And I think that if our members or other people can present us the research initiative, we can help them in the creation of a robust research project in cardio-oncology, which is also a very important field.
Yeah, you mentioned the guidelines and the discussion around the implementation. That's something that has come up over and over and over again. Our weekly webinars, it seems like a week doesn't go by without some conversation about how do we begin to implement the guidelines in this or that particular area of care. So amazing achievement, and really exciting to see how that's going to, you know, be a guide for us going forward in the future as well. One of the other things that we developed a couple of years ago now was both an individual certification, so people can be certified as a cardio-oncologist through an exam, and then also Center of Excellence certification, so institutions could get certified. Susan, I wonder if you could comment a little bit on just what's the rationale behind developing these certifications?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I think this is really important because, you know, our cardio-oncology is still a relatively new area of focus in medicine. And as the popularity of this area increases, anyone really, you know, could say they're running a cardio-oncology clinic or they have a cardio-oncology program. But we felt it was important that we at least have a standard in terms of the knowledge of both individuals and programs and how they run their program. And so it really was almost like a quality control for us to say, if you want to be a cardio-oncologist, this is what we as an organization feel should be your knowledge set, right? So at an individual level, and then at a program level, if you are setting up a program which would include your clinic, but also other aspects of education research, these are the essentials that we think that should be part of a program. And so in terms from a programmatic perspective, you know, we have different levels. We have the bronze, silver, and gold, which really reflect the level of achievement for those individual programs. And also, importantly, for patients, right? For patients, it also tells them that this individual or this program has been reviewed by an independent body, which in this case is ICOS, and that we feel that they have a very strong program. Because otherwise, you know, for our patients, it can be quite confusing as to where should I go if I'm looking for this kind of care. So I think that's been a very exciting addition to ICOS. And of course, that continues to grow. We continue to evolve that whole process. But I can tell you, at least looking at social media, when people get that certification, they are so proud of that. That is the other thing. I mean, I see people say, we're so happy, you know, we got the gold certification. So it's something for clinics and organizations that are just starting out. It's something that for them to try and achieve, right? It gives them the goals of try to improve. And by doing that, it's really about improving patient care, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we go back, that's our lodestar we go back to all the time. How is this going to impact patient care? How is this going to improve the quality of care for patients? And I think those certifications, like you said, are a step in the direction of standardizing that care even globally. There's so much diversity in medical care globally, and yet there are some common, you know, bases of knowledge that need to be in place and basic practices for how to run a clinic that apply globally. So we want to always be looking at that and trying to improve quality of care. Teresa, any other final comments or thoughts on the year, or anything you're looking forward to in particular, as we look toward the next year, which is hard to believe it's a new year already, but.
Yeah, well, the first thing is thank you, Steve, for all your work, because
That's what I was going to say too,
I think that it's not just me, but I think that ICOS will not exist if you are not behind all the activities and all the different groups. So this is my first important thing, that everybody should know, that you are ICOS, and you really are doing a really amazing job in organizing everything. So maybe we can present, or we can think about, I remember that Alex Lyon, in his presentation at GCOS, he presents some blue sky ideas, which in Spanish is like La Carta a los Reyes Magos, what we want for next year. So we expect us to increase the number of our members, definitely. We expect to be able to present to the international community a very robust society that can partnership with other big societies in order to really homogenize the cardio-oncology practice and the research practice.
That's great. Susan, any closing thoughts?
Well, I couldn't agree more, Teresa. I was going to say exactly the same thing, that Steve, you've just been a rock, a solid foundation for this organization, and just really been the face of ICOS. And without you, I don't think we would be here where we are today. So a big thank you to you. And of course, as we, head into 2024, a big thank you to all of the membership. And you are ICOS, and you do make up what I'm considering to be an amazing organization. To all the volunteers, to all those people who are running their chapters, to all the individuals who see patients every single day and bring their knowledge to those patients to improve patient care, a big thank you. And I think looking into 2024 and beyond, I see us growing. I see us improving, hopefully learning how we can implement the guidelines. Teresa that is a big objective, I think, for 2024. But importantly, I look towards engaging more individuals from different parts of the world, so that we can bring better care to all parts of the globe, just not in North America or Europe or in higher income countries. So I think that's another objective for us that really is, I think, important, that we want equity of care as much as possible across the globe. So thank you, Steve. Thanks to all the members. I'm wishing everyone a very, very happy 2024 as we move through the next few weeks.
For more information about ICOS, you can go to ic-os.org, where you'll find more information about all of our programs, including our weekly webinars, our board certification exam, and other resources that we know you'll find helpful. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to hear from you soon.